Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jones with Veterans in Politics. Today is Gezim Hamzaj. We call him Jimmy. He is a stockbroker.
I'm a real estate agent.
Real estate agent. I was thinking about the other guy we had the other time.
Yeah.
Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. So I do have a rant because I normally say, "Oh no, actually I don't have a rant," and then I go off for 20 minutes. You know,
45.
Yeah, well, 45. So here's the thing: everybody needs to accept the fact that Joe Biden, even though I didn't vote for him, Joe Biden is the president now. But here is the one thing that frustrates me. Not specifically anything to do with President Biden, just in general. So ever since, I'm going to say probably Bush Sr., every time a new president takes office, they sign all these executive orders immediately. Whether it's to go against the previous administration or for whatever they want to do. I think what would be a good idea is if we were all just grown-ups for once and figure out that, you know, Democrats have good ideas, Republicans have good ideas. So maybe take a step back, be a grown-up for, you know, even a week, and not try to undo everything that your predecessor did. I think would be a good idea.
It's a waste of tax dollars.
Yeah. I think everybody just needs to take a step back. For whatever reason, right now, we are a divided nation. And that's just the way it is. Leaders actually see through that divide and actually lead. And that's what I'm hoping that President Biden will do, because, you know, President Biden's been around for a long time. And
about 47, 48 years.
Yeah. And he's reached across the aisle on several issues. So I just hope that everybody would take a step back. Like, I'm still confused on why this impeachment process is going on and they want to remove Trump from office. Well, he's already been removed from office.
They're making sure he never runs again.
Right. So I think what we need to do is for politicians to be grown-ups, actually lead, and let's get back to some normalcy and start doing the people's work.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I don't have any.
You don't have a rant? Oh, geez. Okay.
I'll save it. I was told to. Jimmy, tell us about you.
Well, my name is Gezim Hamzaj, but everybody calls me Jimmy. Actually, I do real estate, and I'm actually a mortgage agent.
Okay.
So I've been kind of watching the market and all this, and it's actually kind of weird. Housing has actually increased over the past couple of months instead of actually declining.
Really?
Which is weird. But we have very, very low inventory.
What's a mortgage agent?
A mortgage agent?
Yeah.
I'm a loan officer. I'm the guy that you come to before you buy the property to tell you how much you can actually qualify for.
So you actually do both? You do right. The loan officer side, and then you sell the house?
Yep.
Oh wow, you're a one-stop shop, huh?
Basically, the only thing I need is a title company now, and I'm set.
So how long you guys been in business?
My family's been in business in real estate since '71. So I kind of grew up.
What's the name of that agency?
Eagle Investment Realty.
Okay.
We've been around for a long, long time.
Since '71.
The office opened up in '91 when they opened up the first office.
You said 91 or 71?
71, they got their licenses. In 81 is when they opened up the first office.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of just grew up in the back of the office, so I've been around real estate my entire life.
Okay.
Real estate and construction.
So what fascinates you about real estate?
There's really so many aspects towards it.
How so?
Well, it depends on how you want to buy a property and why you want to buy a property. A lot of people just look into the property and think about the fact that it looks pretty. It fits my needs on 4 bedrooms. But yet again, they don't look past 3, 4, 5 years. Your biggest investment in your life is going to be a property that you buy.
Why do you gotta look 3, 4, 5 years ahead?
Well, your first initial property is going to be a condo, something smaller, in order to build up equity into your property.
Usually they say not to buy condo because you're actually buying air. You're not really buying any type of foundation, any type of property.
You're not buying, in a condo, you're not buying property. You are buying a percentage of the property, but what you're really buying is the air inside the condo.
Right.
But that is still considered a living space. Condos are fantastic for rental units. Condos are fantastic for first-time buyers or people that have low income. Because right now, you're looking at a condo. I did one last month, and he has a mortgage with his HOA of $1,000.
But people don't like to pay for HOAs. I know, I don't.
Yeah, but on a basic norm.
Well, what's the pros and cons into having HOAs?
Yeah. The pros and cons in an HOA, although it seems like it really doesn't offer much for a lot of the price that you do pay, a lot of the times it is nothing more than the amenities and keeping the neighborhood clean, keeping regulations and rules towards it.
Okay.
People live in HOA communities because they believe it's actually more secure. In all reality, a majority of HOA communities are more secure. They have certain rental restrictions, they have certain protocols that have to be followed. Your garbage has to be picked up by a certain time period. Basically, you're paying to have your area policed and guarded. Granted, a lot of these HOAs are going overboard, charging $300, $400 a month for something.
Pulling your weeds.
Yeah. And then, but the pros towards an HOA is the fact that it does actually keep the neighborhood regulated.
Right.
It keeps the neighborhood clean, it keeps the neighborhood, fixes up issues. You guarantee that everything is followed by a certain rule and protocol. Okay. A non-HOA neighborhood is good for some other people. Let's say you're a mechanic. Not all HOA communities will allow you to work in your car in front of your house.
Right.
And majority of larger properties are found in non-HOA communities. You own a small business, you need to park your trucks, you need to park your vehicles. You do AC, you do work like that. You have to park your vehicle somewhere.
But a lot of people don't want to see all that industrial vehicle in their neighborhood.
Right, so that's the choice.
Okay.
Is whether you want to use your property for work related or you want to use your property not for work related.
Or maybe you just don't want to hire a landscaper to go pull those weeds and you let them just grow all over the place.
Basically that too. It depends on freedom of what you want to do to the property. You want to see into the area and community.
Okay. So you also do commercial. Jim, you have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I got a couple questions. So,
because I could just keep going.
Clarify for me again, because I get confused, and you tried to clear it up a little bit, but you got to realize I don't know a lot about this subject. So I always get confused between when somebody says they're a realtor and then somebody says they're a broker.
Okay.
So what specifically, for people like myself that don't understand, what exactly is the difference?
Okay, a realtor doesn't mean that they're just a real estate agent. A realtor means that you belong to a specific club, MLS and such.
Right.
That is just a logo towards the club, to the area.
Right.
A broker is someone's been in the business for a couple of years. It's the same exam, but at a higher percentage point to get the license. A broker could open up their own life office, henceforth has more experience and time towards it. A broker salesman could be a broker, but he can't own the office. Brokers control the office, are the QEs of the office, or the managers of the office.
Okay.
Broker salesman,
What's the QE?
qualified employee.
Okay.
Basically, they're the ones that control the office. They run the office. They are the last stop in the office. They have the last say in the office. What you want to really look at, say you take a contract towards a property, and as a salesman, because you have broker salesman, and you have salesman. Those are your 3 main licenses in real estate.
Right.
You have a salesman. A salesman takes the law firm, takes the contract to the property. It's not really the salesman that takes the contract. It's actually the broker that takes the contract. But the salesman is underneath the broker. So he runs the contract, he runs the showing, the listing, the property and such.
Okay.
But the broker has the final say towards it. Basically like the manager or the boss of the office.
Okay, so let me switch gears real quick on this one too. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, So there's three different types of loans, right? So you have your FHA,
Yeah.
okay? Then you have your conventional.
Okay.
What is the third?
No, these are licenses for real estate. Loans, you have conforming loans, you have FHA, VA, USDA, you have a bunch of conforming loans that you have. You have your VA loans, which is something different, closer to more FHA style loans. You have, what was the other loan there? It was one that's almost
Could you explain the difference between the different types of loans?
Sure, it's actually mainly based off of percentage points and the amount of money you put down towards a property.
Okay, so let's start with FHA. What do you need to do to qualify for that?
For an FHA loan, you generally need to have a credit score above 580.
Okay.
Basically, everybody would want like 640, be nice towards it. You can qualify with a 580, but that's skimming off the thing and you're gonna get not that great of a rate. Let's just face it, it's just horrible.
Yeah.
But to use any of the FHA programs, you need to be 640 and above.
Right.
An FHA program would be homeless ready, homeless ready, or homeless possible. I like homeless possible.
Okay.
Homeless possible, let's say you're a first-time home buyer. Everybody confuses it about first-time home buyer. First-time home buyer is an FHA program, but homeless possible is a little bit, I prefer a little more than first-time home buyer programs. You can use it as your first-time home buyer. Let's just say you're buying a property. Today's interest rate in Nevada for first-time FHA homeless possible is 3%, and they'll give you 3% towards your closing. Let's say it's 3.5, they'll give you 4% towards closing, and the other interest rate is 4%, and they will give you 4% towards your closing costs. So instead of initially coming out of pocket, say you're buying a condo, let's just keep the numbers easy, at $100,000. FHA loan, you're required to have 3.5% down on the property. That's not including your closing costs, which would be your escrow, title fees, and everything like this.
All right.
But with Homeless Possible, instead of you coming with that 3.5 right out of your pocket and still coming out with the other fees, they're going to give you $3,000, but you pay for the fee too on the back end, which you do pay for it towards your closing costs.
So they're not really giving you that money. They're going to put it on the tail of your loan.
No, they're putting it on the tail of your loan. No, it's not actually put on the tail of your loan. What I'm saying you pay for it is you'll pay. If I had a sheet, I can actually break it down fairly simple towards it. Okay. But what it is you pay not the loan. The loan is separate. And right now in Nevada, it's after 3 years, that $3,000 is negated. So you don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay. You can refinance your property without any penalty of paying that back. What you're paying for is technically to use the loan, which is not much. It's only a small, like $1,000, depends on whatever it is onto the loan program and the amount you're loaning. Okay. And that's basically how that program works out on FHA. FHA is designed to have people with lower income, lower credit scores in order to qualify to buy a property. While in conventional, you can still use a conventional loan, like I did last one, was a conventional loan. You can still do Homeless Possible, but they will not give you money back towards your closing costs, but you just have to put down a reduced amount.
And how much is the normal closing cost?
Closing costs can vary. Generally, you want to look at your title fees, doc fees, so you want to factor in at least 2.5% towards the property, so 2.5 points. Okay. 2.5 points to 3 points. 3.5 depends, the lower the value. Because you still have your processor fees. An average processor fee could be $900. So you're still looking at processor and your underwriting fees. You're looking at probably roughly about $1,600 there, which is no choice in the matter on that one if you're going to loan.
Right.
Okay. Well, first off, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And the reason why, and Steve has plenty of questions for you as well. And I don't mean to like almost badger you with questions, but these are questions that a lot of people don't understand. So now I want to switch gears a little bit, and this gets a little trickier, I guess. Okay, so this is what I was told, is that if you purchase a house through an FHA loan, that you can't put that mortgage into a trust, a non-revocable trust. How familiar are you with trusts?
Not that familiar. I've never heard you can't do that.
Yeah. I was just kind of curious because, unfortunately, I've been having some medical issues and stuff, and I just wanted to make sure that my brothers are taken care of. And so I was told, well, I can't take my mortgage, and I can't take that and put it into a trust. They said FHA regulations won't allow that because it's a HUD home.
Not that I'm familiar with.
Okay.
I mean, I could look into it, but I've never really seen any problems like that before.
Okay. I was just curious.
I think he's talking about putting the mortgage into the trust.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
the house. The house is easy, but the property is easy.
Yeah,
but
I
he's
don't
talking
think you
about
can put the mortgage into the trust that way.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it would have to be an assumable. It had to be assumable mortgage, and most FHA mortgages are not assumable.
Okay.
So basically, you probably would have to requalify.
Refinance it.
Yeah, refinance and then requalify. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just refinance it through a conventional. Just keep it simple.
But talk about a little bit about VA loans. You do a lot of those.
I haven't done too many VA loans.
What do you know about the VA loans?
They do offer some interesting benefits,
Okay.
and they run very similar to Home Was Possible and Home Was Ready. But they do have a zero down payment towards it, which is a very nice factor towards it. They just have a little bit higher on the MIP or PMI towards the back end. But I haven't done very many VA loans.
No, well, VA loans. You don't see the PMI. There's no
They have
what they call that.
mortgage premium insurance.
Yeah. So there's no PMI and there's no out-of-pocket costs.
Yeah, see, I haven't done them too many. I've done a refinance on that and turned it to a conventional, but that's about it.
What about the USDA loans you were talking about?
USDA loans?
Yeah.
USDA loans are very rare in Las Vegas,
Okay.
especially in Clark County. You would have to literally go outside to like Pahrump area. It would have to be outside the city zones.
Okay.
And it's very rare you'll find something like that in this side of town.
Why is that?
We're so much into city zones and areas towards it.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's more
So it's more
rural.
rural.
Rural land. It would have to be rural.
Almost like a ranch or something of that nature.
Yeah, it would have to be farther out. It'd have to be a ranch. It would have to be something of that nature, something like that.
Okay.
And it would have to be outside of city jurisdictions and areas. And it's very rare you would find something like that on here.
Do you do much on selling land without a structure on there?
I've done it. I have a couple of properties up for sale that way too.
Okay. And so if somebody wants to buy a lot for an investment,
Okay.
and it costs about $135,000.
Okay.
How much would they have to come up with, and what type of down they would have to put? I mean, is it the same? The closing costs and all that would be the same if you was buying a structural property?
A little bit different.
How
Because
so?
you wouldn't have those type of closing costs. It'd be a little bit different closing costs. So it'd just be an escrow fee towards it.
You wouldn't have to get an appraisal or anything like that?
You can get an appraisal if you want to get a mortgage on the land. Where land mortgages are not really done in this town. Generally, you have the owner carry a note.
Okay.
And the owner will carry a note, and you just pay back the owner over a time period.
So it's usually paying back the owner.
Mm-hmm.
So the owner will act as a financial institution.
Yeah.
I see.
And the owner will carry a note, and you just pay the owner.
Okay.
And you split it up over a certain time period.
How about commercial versus residential? You do a lot of that?
I don't do very much commercial.
Okay.
I try to keep out of that too much.
Why is that?
A lot more headaches.
How so? How so, Jimmy?
No. Commercial isn't a headache.
How so?
How so?
Well, we have the business broker's license inside there. We have commercial real estate licenses inside there. They're generally held by my mother. She has those licenses and she does the property management. Commercial just becomes...
So investment realty also does property management.
We do property management too.
How many properties do you guys manage?
At the moment in time, about 20.
20. Okay.
We just, over time period, it's just...
So you pay the mortgage on it, or you rent and...
We basically handle the tenants and rent it out.
Okay.
We keep it simple.
Okay.
But
Please proceed with the commercial.
the commercial property, it's just so much more work. You need to know how much income is actually driven from the building. What are the insurance and regulations towards it? And then you have zoning variations, rules for anything that can change inside there, change in structure, change in building, change in business. You understand what I mean, right?
That's why I'm chuckling.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Not
just,
at all.
It's just basically, yeah, we've done it and we are doing something else like that right now at the moment in time. But it is a lot harder than residential real estate. And it's a lot more work and process towards it.
If somebody buys a resident and they convert it into commercial, how much does the property value raise from resident to commercial, professional office, let's say?
Whew.
Is there a ballpark figure of?
I would say a ballpark, depending on the street and the location, I would say a ballpark figure about maybe 50 to 6% higher.
56?
50 to 60% higher.
50 to 60%, that's 50.
It can even double in profit.
Double.
Yep.
So then it does worth the hassle and it does worth the headache to convert.
It does work, but it also it just varies on the location towards it. Real estate is always about location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Location, corner lots, parking, availability. What can you do with that property? How can you convert that property into profitable?
Got it.
Because commercial, you have to look at literally the bottom line of profit. How much profit will that building bring you compared to how much profit you're going to lose on that building?
Okay.
If you can take a building and you buy a commercial property, you build the building up by yourself. You do all the land and all that, and you rent out the offices. Does that pay off the taxes, the insurance, the bills, the power, and the effort that you put into it?
Yeah.
And can you get the money back within 5 years? That's the question towards it.
So 5 years is usually the a gold, a starting point, or?
Depends on the amount you invest into it, 5 years to 10 years.
Got it.
A lot of people will try to do it within 3, but generally it's about 5.
Okay. So what else could you tell us about the market? What is the interest rate right now?
Right now I'm doing a refinance on somebody. They have a 40% equity inside the property. Their par rate is 2.85 on a 30-year.
Okay, so it's dropped a little bit.
It dropped a little bit.
Okay.
So explain to me what equity is
Equity
for
is...
for viewers and listeners, because that's another thing too. People are like, "Oh, well, you're building equity," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay. What the hell is equity, and how am I building it?"
Equity is basically, you want to figure like money inside your property. Over a certain time period, you're paying off the mortgage.
Right.
So say you're paying the mortgage and you're paying the interest at the same time. And you're chiseling away at the mortgage. Your mortgage payment's $1,000. You're paying $400 for the mortgage in the beginning and $600 towards interest. That $400 is equity. And as your property increases in value, you bought the property at $100,000. After about 5 years, the property goes up to $150,000. Without even considering the mortgage factor in towards it, you have $50,000 of equity inside it.
Okay.
You can pull out equity outside of your property and use it any way you want to. You just get a loan, you get a second mortgage.
Okay.
So if somebody wants to buy an investment property,
Okay.
how much do they have to put down?
20%.
20% of the gross total.
20% of the property. Say you want to buy a house for rent and you want to basically do a investment loan. It's 20% of the property. Easy numbers, $200,000 house. You want to put $40,000 down.
So what's your credit score need to be and your debt to ratio?
Your credit score, your debt to ratio on an investment property should be below 45.
Okay.
So your DTI has to be below 40. It doesn't have to be below 45, but it also depends on, is that property already previously rented and is the contract going to transfer over? So will that really affect your DTI towards it? So say you have a property that's already rented and it's already paying itself off. You're buying the property at $200,000. The rent is $1,700. But your mortgage is going to be $1,400. That basically negates itself out. The $300 is not really considered profit because you can only take 75% of it. 75% of the rent is actually counted towards your DTI towards a mortgage.
Okay.
So if your mortgage is $1,000, you only count, and you have your rent $1,000, you're in the whole $250 by the credit score.
Right.
But on a credit score, you want to be about 700, 680 and up. Basically, you want to look at.
So, I'm assuming that since you've done loans and processed them, I heard from a loan officer a couple of years ago that the way they figure credit scores are a little different than they used to be. So what exactly, how do these credit agencies, how do they decipher exactly what a credit score is? Now I'm familiar with DTI, but some of the other stuff.
That one is just basically how much debt have you incurred over a period of time and how fast are you at paying it off. That's the only way they factor it. It's point basis towards how often do you pay it? Do you pay it early? Do you pay it right on time? Yeah. And it's little extra points if you pay a little bit early.
Yeah.
And how much debt can you acquire over a time period? That's why it's always good to open up credit cards when you're young.
Right.
And you just don't really use them. Like I had credit cards since I was 14 years old. So I would use it for gas and everything like that and pay it off 2 weeks before it was due. Then I get another credit card, and that's how they factor is how much credit can you take.
The reason why I'm laughing is because that's exactly what I did. Because I went and, so I was 18, and they said, yeah, your credit score is 620. And that's because you have no debt, but you've never purchased anything either. So the first thing I did was I got a gas card.
Yep.
And started paying it off early. And that's how I built it up. So I was just curious because there's a lot of different myths that are floating out there. Like I've heard people say medical bills don't count quite as much as other bills, and
they all count.
Yeah.
They all count.
Yeah. All right. So another question. What are your feelings about this? Obviously, would impact your field at some point. Student loans.
Yeah.
Because me personally, as somebody who has a lot of student loan debt, would like to just see student loans go away.
I don't think they will ever really go away.
Right.
And it does impact you more than you would ever actually believe on qualifying for a property.
Yeah, do tell.
Say you're on a government payment plan, and even now with COVID, you go for a loan, and if you're not physically on the government payment plan, they will actually charge you 1 point of your entire loan. So say your loan balance is $7,000, $70,000. 1 point of that is $700 a month payment. This will go towards your DTI. Student loans and the interest rates that they are charging is absolutely disgusting. I mean, when you can finance a house at $400,000 at 2.85,
right?
How can you not finance a student loan at that price?
Yeah.
And it's just, they destroy people. It makes it almost impossible for a lot of people to buy properties.
Well, and the reason
and get
why,
educated.
Yeah,
educated.
the reason
16% interest rate or something? Crazy.
The reason why I'm asking is because when I went back to get my master's degree, they're like, oh yeah, well, because you're going for a graduate degree, you can qualify for this amount of money. Well, everybody was taking the money.
Yeah.
And now we're all kind of just sitting there going.
And the interest rate keeps on building.
Yeah, and we're like, how in the hell are we ever going to pay this back?
Yeah.
Like, I make my student loan payment on time every month. There's no way I'm ever going to pay that debt back.
No, it's specifically designed, in my opinion, to make it impossible to pay back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And the interest rate that they charge onto it and the way it's just accumulating over time
Yeah.
is just nonstop. And I don't even know how to even answer that question. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
Destroys everybody's future. It makes it almost impossible for most people to even qualify for anything.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else for Jimmy?
Well, now I'm depressed, but no, I mean, there's plenty of other questions
Well, on city
that I
loans,
have as far as, like, this is an issue, and I hope there's a lot of legislators out there that are listening to this, because that's something that, like, really drives me nuts, is this student loan thing.
it's not that it destroys everything from qualifying,
Yeah.
but I know that debt will never go away. So what you do on the mortgage side is you have to factor in, and normally on the government contracts, you have to renew it every year
Right.
on an income-based payment plan. So you would use the income-based payment plan in order to put it towards it.
Right.
But that will be generated through the payment, so your monthly payment. So that will affect your DTI that way. But if you don't have that, you're actually 0.1% towards the entire loan per month. So if you're on an income-based payment plan, you can qualify to buy a property. It's just, I don't like student loans the way they do it and how fast they increase in rate.
Well, let me ask you this question then. Would you be willing to, I don't know what area of town you live in, but would you be willing to, based on your experience and what you've seen, would you be willing to help out with maybe some legislation? I mean,
Sure.
at least propose it, and then somebody like Steve or I, or basically me, because I'm the one that's like getting really frustrated about this student loan thing. Would that be something that would interest you?
Yeah.
Probably have to go to Congress or Senate for that. I don't think the local.
Oh yeah, no,
That would have to be something.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, there was a question that I had when we brought up the student loan thing. Could you take equity out of your home to pay off the student loan at that 16%, refinance everything back, and then drop your student loan? You paid off your student loan,
Oh, yeah.
but it'll drop to 2 point whatever percent if you use your house.
Has equity towards it? Absolutely. And you do
Is that a smart thing to do?
if your student loans, if you're basically paying above your mortgage rate, I would say yeah, and you have enough equity in your property, I would do it. Because now you're going to be dividing that loan. You will have 10%, 7%, 8% on a loan. It's almost long shark way, in my opinion. I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous.
Right.
yeah.
And yeah, you can take the equity out of your property and pay off your student loans.
Okay.
In fact, you can take equity out of your property anytime you want to. It's your property. It's basically your money sitting in your personal account.
Mhm.
No penalties, no fees towards it. You can take it out and refinance it. It's your money.
Right.
And you just get a loan onto the property. Use your house as collateral. Yeah, you can take it out and pay off your student loans at any time.
So I guess got another question.
No.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, but when you're doing a refinance, that's a cash out refinance, depending on the amount.
Yeah.
But as a cash out refinance, it's a little bit higher on interest rate. It could be about a quarter point higher, it could be about half point higher, depends on the area and location. Area, location, wherever city you live in, whatever state you live in has
Right.
Clark County different than you would have in Nye County. That just depends on your location.
Okay.
But yeah, you can take it out, and up to, you have to leave 20% equity inside your property.
Mhm.
Well, you can go a little higher up than that if you wanted to, it depends on your loan.
Gotcha.
But generally they want about around that area.
Okay. So my next question is, no, I wouldn't suggest anybody doing this, but if worst came to worst, so let's say you own a property free and clear.
Okay.
You got the deed, you got everything. Why can't you borrow money on that property? Because I was told you weren't.
Who says you can't?
Said that?
You own the
I'm saying
property
you said
free and
that.
clear. That's your business to do whatever you want to.
Right.
A lending institution can loan you money on that property without a problem.
Yeah, all of them will run this to lend you money. You got the
Sure, not a
deeds?
problem.
Yeah.
I'll take care of it right now.
I'm not gonna say who, but it's an old friend of Steve Sanson's. But
Oh, don't
No,
associate me to bad information because they're
I'm
friends
just
of
messing
mine.
with you. But no, what I think I might be phrasing it wrong though. They said something about as far as, again, they do real estate and and this individual was working on her broker's license. It was something to do about I forget the name, forget the term now, but yeah, I just found it interesting. I wouldn't suggest anybody to do that, but they basically told me because you don't have a current mortgage, like you can't borrow money on property that is already paid off.
You can do it anytime you want to. A mortgage, just because you don't have a current mortgage doesn't mean you can't put a mortgage on top of the property.
Right.
It's your property. You own it outright.
Yeah.
You want to borrow and use that as collateral to borrow money? Absolutely, because that's what you can do in the mortgage, even if you have a current mortgage.
Okay.
In a refinance, it's basically this mortgage is going to pay off this mortgage. So this mortgage no longer exists and this won't take the position.
Right. Okay.
You can borrow and do whatever you want to that property. It's free and clear. It's yours.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest anybody just to do it to take a trip
No.
to Acapulco.
Right.
But
yeah.
but if you're going to increase your debt to ratio, then I would suggest that if your student loan is 10-12%,
Yeah.
and if you could take money out of your home to knock out that mortgage and drop it down to 2%, then
Yeah.
you save yourself what? A lot of percentage in interest.
Yeah.
Factor over a time period,
Yeah.
you're saving yourself a lot.
A lot of money in interest. So I would suggest it for that, as long as you use it to knock away another,
Yeah.
not to increase
Right.
additional debt.
Yeah.
People do it all the time. They take it out. Kid wants to go to college.
Yeah,
Take a loan out of the house. Take a second on the house.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, you have been a worth of information.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you wanted to add that we didn't ask, or you want to make sure that the viewers and listeners know?
Yeah, just face the camera and.
If you could look in the camera and just tell everybody, what they need to look for, or whatever comes to your mind, and your point of contact, so they get a hold of you and use you as a broker or real estate agent.
Sure. I'm actually the easiest person to get a hold of. Just type in my name, Gezim Hamzaj, @gmail.com. I always have my phone on me. I generally have an answer for almost a majority of questions. But, yeah. And always think before you do anything, and think before you actually buy an investment or a property, especially before you buy a house and you want to decide what you want to do with a property, not even now, but what do you want to do 5 years in advance, or where do you see yourself in 5 years in advance or 10 years in advance, and how you can use that property as equity in order to put you in that position. Because it's Vegas. Nobody lives in the same property for more than 7 or 8 years the first couple times.
Yeah.
It's always moving, it's always changing.
Yeah. Well, Gezim Hamzaj, did I say it right?
Hamzaj.
Hamzaj. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the program. We really
It was a pleasure.
appreciate you coming on. Folks, that's Gezim Hamzaj, but we call him Jimmy.
Yeah.
He's a real estate broker, right?
Yeah.
Real estate broker, and does a lot of mortgages, right? And just use them, get them going. And how long you been in business?
Oh, I've been in real estate since 2015, and 2 years ago I grabbed my mortgage license again, but I was licensed in mortgage from 2008 till 2010 before.
Yeah.
And then I went to the restaurant.
The man knows exactly what he's talking about. You can find him over at Desert Shores. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Until next time.